Initial purging. Traditional. The tube leading from the pump is placed inside the bucket and secured with a clamp. FieldSink. The tube leading from the pump is snapped into the tube guide. The tube guide is installed into the workstation base. The stability cord is attached to one of the 3 anchor points on the workstation base and passed through the tube guide. The stability cord is then passed through another anchor point on the workstation base, and the cord lock is used to tighten the stability cord to secure the tube guide. Traditional. The sample collection end of the tube is at high risk of cross-contamination from the interior of the discharge bucket. FieldSink. The sample collection end of the tube is secured in space above a work platform, where nothing can come in contact with it unless permitted by the technician. Flow cell operation. Traditional. The pump is turned off and the tube is unclamped from the top of the bucket. The tube is then connected to the inlet at the bottom of the flow cell using a short length of silicone tubing. A separate discharge tube is connected to the outlet at the top of the flow cell. The discharge tube is placed inside the bucket and secured with a clamp, and the flow cell is placed on the ground. FieldSink. The pump is turned off and the tube is connected to the inlet of the flow cell using a short length of silicone tubing. Another silicone tube from the outlet is fed through the drain tray into the bucket. The flow cell remains on the drain tray throughout the entire process. Traditional. After water quality parameters have stabilized and are within acceptable range, the flow cell is picked up off the ground and held over the bucket. The tube leading from the pump is disconnected and held over the bucket while the flow cell is drained. The discharge tube is unclamped and the tube leading from the pump is once again clamped to the top of the bucket. Once drained, the flow cell is set off to the side to prepare for sample collection. FieldSink. After water quality parameters have stabilized, the flow cell is simply disconnected from the end of the tube secured in the tube guide. The inlet silicone tubing is raised and the flow cell is drained. Once drained, the flow cell is set off to the side to prepare for sample collection. Volatile sampling. Traditional. The sample collection end of the tube is unclamped and held over the center of the bucket to prepare for sample collection. Significant splashback of the purge water is observed inside the bucket. FieldSink. The drain tray has been designed to minimize splashback of water being pumped from the tube. Traditional. VOA vials are set on the ground at the base of the bucket in preparation for sample collection. FieldSink. VOA vials are placed in their designated holders in the workstation base in preparation for sample collection. Traditional. The tube is unclamped from the top of the bucket. While holding the tube in one hand, a VOA vial is picked up with the other. The bottle is held inside the bucket and the cap is removed. The bottle is filled while holding the tube, the bottle cap, all at the same time. The VOA vial continues to be filled at an angle while inside the bucket. A meniscus must be formed at the top of the bottle and the cap must be screwed on without spilling any sample or preservative. A steady hand is required to complete this task while also keeping control of the tube. FieldSink. A VOA vial is removed from its holder. Without having to hold the tube, the bottle is held in one hand and the cap in the other. The bottle is held over the drain tray during filling and the cap is screwed on with ease. PFAS sampling. Traditional. The tube is unclamped from the top of the bucket and the sample bottle is picked up off the ground. The cap is removed and placed on the ground, and the bottle is filled while inside the bucket. FieldSink. The HDPE splash guard is installed on the end of the tube. With the tube secure, 2 hands are used to hold the bottle and remove the cap. The bottle cap is placed in its designated holder on the workstation base. The bottle is positioned on the drain tray, the tube guide is lowered down to the height of the bottle, and the stability cord is tightened. The bottle is filled under sterile conditions. Traditional, significant splashback is observed coming out of the bottle as the sample is topped off. Once the bottle is full, the tube and bottle are held in one hand and the bottle cap is retrieved with the other. The cap is screwed onto the bottle while water is still being pumped into the bucket. FieldSink. The splash guard keeps the sample in the bottle during filling and keeps out airborne particulates. Once the bottle is full, the stability cord is loosened and the tube guide is raised and swung out of the way. And the bottle cap is screwed onto the bottle with ease. Back-to-back sampling. Traditional, sample bottles are filled one at a time inside the bucket by holding the tube in one hand and the bottle in the other. This task can be long and tedious when required to maintain a slow pump rate and when there are multiple bottles to fill. Each sample must go through the same monotonous filling process. FieldSink. 2 sample bottles are placed side by side on the drain tray at the same time. The tube guide can swing to accommodate easy transition from bottle to bottle during filling operations. The security of this hands-free system allows for additional multitasking to boost productivity. Metals sampling. Traditional. The tube is unclamped from the bucket and a 0.45 micron filter is attached to the end. Sample bottle cap is removed using one hand and placed on the ground. The tube and filter are held in one hand and the sample bottle in the other while filling. FieldSink. A 0.45 micron filter is attached to the end of the tube. The bottle is placed on the drain tray and the tube guide is lowered to the height of the bottle. The stability cord is tightened to secure the bottle during the filling process.